We're back here on the John Fourcade Show. And John, Super Bowl Sunday, and we talked about that the score would be close, defensive-oriented football game. And I don't think any of us thought how dominant both defenses were. To be honest with you, Denver winning the game 24-10, that last touchdown was kind of almost a gimme because set up by a turnover. But 4 turnovers by the Panthers, I think that was certainly critical. The Broncos, 7 quarterback sacks. That was just an unbelievable performance by that front 7 sacks. Again, 5 by Carolina. So it goes to show they put tremendous pressure on also. Total yards, 100. How many games you win with 194 yards total offense, John? It's less than 20% of games that you win in the NFL when you don't get over 200 yards. The Broncos got 194 and rushing 90 yards, and yet still pulled out that victory. If you just looked at the stats on this, you would think Carolina won the game.
True, and that's the thing about it, Mike. You look at this, and I was shocked. First of all, the game was boring. I don't care what anybody says. It was boring. Great defense. The better defense in this team, in this game, was actually Carolina from a standpoint of yardages. As far as the turnover, you got to give it to Denver. The turnovers that Denver produced got them the points, got them the win. Overall, this was just a game. If you want to watch defensive games and just pathetic offensive, both quarterbacks in my books played pretty bad. It was a game that went down to, maybe it was the fumble that he didn't try to recover. It was 16-10 at that point. Maybe if he does recover it and they punt the football, they don't get the ball in that turnover at that 4-yard line and get that cheap score at the end. But it was a game where, look, you look at it, Mike, well as I did, Peyton just didn't look like NFL quarterback. There's some issues with him right now. Please retire. Please retire. We love you, baby. We understand it, Peyton, but go drink you some Budweiser somewhere. Retire. I mean, that's just the thing he said. But the way the offense played on both sides of football, Cam had his issues as well. But it was a defensive-minded game, and we watched it. We all sitting there saying, wait, what's going on here? Where is the offense? But you got 2 good defenses, Mike, that played in this football game. Somebody had to win it. And the Denver Broncos, I believe I picked them.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah, I did. I think I'm up on you for the year.
Yeah, you did on that one. One of the things with this game was the fact Carolina had opportunities.
Yes, they did.
Had opportunities. 5 drop passes. You had a fumble inside the 40-yard line. Cam threw the interception in the red zone. A missed field goal. Sometimes great defenses don't always play great, but they play great when they have to. And almost like if Denver needed a play, DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller, Wolf, Malik Jackson, that front 4, they came up with a play. It's not that they didn't give up yardage. It was kind of like the accordion. They gave you up here and there, but you could never finish the deal. And listen, I remember Drew Brees telling me this during the season that he thought the key to winning at the college and professional level was keeping drives alive, making you stay on the field and tiring you out and keeping drives alive. The Panthers never could do that. They could never finish the deal. And I think it came back to bite them. And, Jake Delhomme was with us Monday night. And one of the things he said, looking at Cam, he's taking a lot more heat than what he should. But you see, that's the position of quarterback.
Yes.
When you sign up, if you're in the 3rd or 4th grade as a quarterback, you sign the contract with when you win, you get a lot more credit than you should. And when you lose, you get a lot more blame.
Right.
And I think there was the drop passes, the offensive line breakdowns. Their running game, I thought, was average and maybe at best for them. They didn't run the read option. I thought it was a very poorly coached game by Mike Shula, play calling wise.
I also thought Denver's play calling was
conservative.
Right, and I don't care what anybody says. You cannot tell me sit there, okay, we're just going to 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7. We're going to run the football, or we're going to hope our defense is the way they play. It only takes a play here or there to next thing you know, your defense just couldn't stop them. They score a point. I did not like Denver's philosophy of offense at all. I thought Kubiak had his game plan set, well, we're just going to let the defense win again. You cannot go in there with a mindset saying we're going to let our defense just win the football game, because all it takes, the punt return when nobody fair catch, a guy runs it back 61 yards. Or the guy for Carolina who dropped the passes on the goal line, we thought that he should have had it, but he didn't have it. They had their opportunities, Carolina, to get some points. They didn't. But you can't rely and play that kind of ball control offense that Denver did. Because there was plays now, Peyton threw the ball well on certain situations, but he didn't throw the ball left. Didn't throw the ball to tight end at all after the first play of the game that he threw to the tight end. And then you have to look, too, with Carolina. You know, Cam Newton had 10 passes, they said, that were overthrown, the most in a Super Bowl. 10 overthrown passes. And now we don't know who's sitting there doing that. Must be some bored people in there doing the stats and figuring that out. But with how far, how bad it had to be overthrown. But, you know, 10 overthrown passes, a lot of incomplete passes, no rushing attack. You're right. Where was the read option? But I just saw it in his eyes. There's something about Cam Newton. He was shell-shocked in that ball game. They had him.
I think the Panthers were shell-shocked from start to almost finish.
Yeah.
Almost like this game was too big for them at that moment, particular time. Another thing, too, is I think he felt pressure that sometimes wasn't there. Almost phantom pressure. And that's why those passes were sailing on him. I think he was feeling pressure that sometimes wasn't actually there. Take nothing away from Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. I thought they did a great job putting pressure on the quarterback. But his receiving core didn't help him out at all.
Right.
I mean, you drop those passes, and I still want to figure out, because I think this was the defining moment early in the game. That looked like a catch to me, over the middle. And they go to replay. I mean, they're saying about the ball may have touched here or there. John, I don't know what's a catch and what's not a catch anymore. Then the next play, Von Miller makes the strip. And you know, they took advantage of that situation. But I thought those two plays set up the rest of the game for Denver.
Well, you jumped out early in the game. That was the key to it. When you said that the play, don't know if it was a caught ball or not a caught ball. Let's get to the situation nobody knows right now. And then Von Miller makes the play. And it kind of had Carolina thinking, wait a second, you know, they got to be this easy. We got a turnover. They scored a touchdown. They still in the ball game. 9-0. It was 10-0 after the extra point. But overall, 10-0. You stood with the offense that they're capable of doing. They were the number 2 offense in the NFL this season, or whatever it may be. Talk about how they could score on everybody. They spanked Seattle. They spanked Arizona. They got the Super Bowl, and I really believe they clammed up offensive-wise. I just felt that they didn't do what they did against Seattle in the first half, nor what they did against Arizona when they played Arizona. They came in this ball game thinking, I think both teams came in and said, let's just do it by defense. Let's just the defense win it. Don't turn over on offense. Well, Carolina turned it over offensively.
One of the things, too, is a guy you know real well, Wade Phillips. And what redemption for Wade. It was a guy that was out of football a year ago, didn't do well as a head coach, but always has been a great defensive coordinator. And I just think that was kind of a redemption moment for him. Also, too, you got to give John Elway a lot of credit. He took a lot of heat from guys in this business that said, man, what does John Elway know about running the football team? I've been in here 20 years. I'm a salary cap guy. I'm a personnel guy. John Elway's a great player. What does he know? All I know is that team he pieced together. Peyton Manning, free agency, Aqib Talib, T.J. Ward, DeMarcus Ware, Emmanuel Sanders, Luis Vasquez. They came through big time for him.
Mike, give me someone who knows football to run my team than someone who thinks they know football. You know, the X's and the O's and the things.
I can find a guy that can do the books.
Yeah, you get somebody to do the books. If you played the game of football, you've been around long enough, you know players. It's all about the players. It's not about dollars and cents, because you can overpay somebody all the time, or you can underpay somebody. But when you're going to find out, can they play or not? And that's what Elway brought to the table. He knew what he had to go out and get, and he stacked that defense. But I'll tell you what, you're right. When he get Wade Phillips there, I've always said Wade Phillips was one of the better defensive coordinators in the league. What he did in Houston when he was there, what he did at Denver right now, he don't need to be a head coach. Not necessarily all coordinators need to be head coaches. Just stay as a coordinator. You don't need to be getting a head coach.
One thing, again, Wade Phillips, one of the good guys in this business, and the good guy won Sunday night. More with the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford. We'll be right back.